and welcome to the Shot Clock, the show where four guests take turns debating some of the most heated topics in sports. Throughout the show, I will award the guests with the best arguments some points, and at the very end, the two with the most points will debate in the final debate to see who is the best debater of the day. Today, I am joined by Nolan Humphreys, Rin Gately, Mason Cycenas-Heimer, and Jake Ouellette. Let's get right into our first topic. We're going to be talking about the biggest draft bust in all of sports history. So, Nolan, who do you think is the biggest draft bust in history?
I went a little bit different. Now Yakupov, 2012 number 1 overall pick in the NHL draft to Edmonton. You know, he comes from Russia, and he wasn't bad in his first season, had 30 points in about 50 games, but kind of developing defensively was where kind of the rough start happened. And you could debate that if in 2014 and 2015 Edmonton didn't get lucky in the draft lottery, that Edmonton franchise would not have went to the Stanley Cup recently, and they wouldn't be an ounce of what they are today.
All right, it's definitely a take there. What do y'all think about that? Any rebuttals to that take?
I don't think you can't give Yakupov that kind of thing. The kid was 18 when he got drafted.
Okay.
You can't come in where you're 18. Hockey is a sport where you're young coming in. This kid didn't get a chance to develop. Edmonton cut the leash short. You can't give him the reign of being a draft bust if his reign got cut short. The leash got cut short way too early and never really got a chance to provide himself.
Well, okay, one, the leash didn't get cut short. He had multiple coaches during his time at the Oilers. Also, Celebrini right now, 19 years old, the same age as me. He's got, he leads the league in points right now. So you can be young and succeed. Also, he had like 5 different coaches at Edmonton. He played there for multiple years.
Yeah, but you can't have multiple coaches. The guy had multiple coaches in the span of 4 years. He had 3 separate coaches in 4 years. The kid can't have anything to develop. Look at Anthony Volpe right now. He's had Aaron Boone, but he had multiple coaches coming in through the minors. The guy never had the chance to develop, and now everybody in New York is clowning on the kid because he's not been able to prove himself yet. Yakupov didn't get the chance to prove himself in Edmonton because all of the coaching staff and all of hockey media wouldn't let him have that chance.
He did have the chance. They actually fired the coaches and built a coaching staff just around him as a player. So if anything, he had every opportunity to develop. He didn't want to develop defensively, and that cut him off.
All right. Mason, Rin, you guys have anything to say about that debate right there? Jake and Nolan went at it a bit.
I'm going to have to agree with Jake on this one, to be honest. I just don't think Yakupov got the amount of time and opportunity to really showcase and develop his skills before Edmonton cut the leash short on him. Other than that, I mean, obviously they got lucky in the 2015 draft lottery with McDavid, but I think you can argue they can get lucky in later years and still make the Stanley Cup later, such as 2022 or 2023.
So what's like a short leash? Because he had about 4 years to develop in Edmonton. What do you want them to have?
Kid came in when he was 18.
Okay, 95% of NHL players come in when they're 18.
Right.
Yeah, you can't bring up Macklin Celebrini when he was the best player in college hockey last year.
Now Yakupov was the best player in Canadian hockey when he was coming over.
All right, we've got to move on from this one. I think you made a few good points there, Nolan. You definitely had a lot of time to develop and never actually seemed to show any potential that he would. So I'm going to give you a point for that. But Jake had some good counterpoints there, so I'm going to give him some points as well. We'll move on to Ren. Who do you believe is the greatest draft bust of all time?
I got to go with a bit of an obscure pick here from the Australian Football League. This is a man named Scott Gumbleton, who was the 2nd overall pick in the 2006 AFL draft. He ended up going and playing for the Essendon team. In his first season, he only played in 5 games, only scoring 3 goals before he got a hamstring injury that cost him the next entire season. And he was out for 2 more seasons after that. 2010, they finally brought him back in. And he only was able to play then for 16 games before getting another injury. Falling out of that, he came back in 2012 for 1 more season, but then he was caught in a major doping scandal that was found, and he had to retire from Australian football right there. And I think that right there, I mean, that was someone who was the 2nd overall draft pick who just really didn't get anything for Essendon or the other teams he played after that. So I feel like there's not really a big question there.
I think you made some good points there, Ren, but it does always bring up the question is, like, can you blame the players when it comes to injuries like that? I mean, we saw Greg Oden and Markelle Fultz. They were considered draft busts really because of injuries in the NBA. What do y'all think? Any rebuttals to that point?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing as you there, Calvin. Really, injuries, you can't really blame a player for getting injured all the time. Injury things happen. Being injured is something that happens in professional sports, especially with a contact sport like the AFL. But I do agree with you on the fact that the doping thing, you can't really come back from that. We never see people come back from that. But you really can't blame the guy for being injured in a contact sport like the AFL.
Yeah, it is something that AFL is, since it's such a physical sport, it really does have a lot of injury-prone things there. But the big thing was that he just didn't really get any goals when he was in that first season or beyond. In the 2010 season, he only got 13 goals in his 16 games. And he also just wasn't really finding a lot outside of that. I didn't mention this, but in 2013, he was actually traded away to the Fremantle team for the 55th draft pick, which is a big, big difference from second overall.
That's a rough drop-off for that franchise when you draft that guy. Hoping he's going to be your franchise player. Injuries, that scandal. Definitely a bust, in my opinion. I haven't even heard of him, so can't be that great. Mason, who do you believe is the greatest draft bust?
Well, Calvin, I heard you mention Markelle Fultz earlier, and that's my pick. I think Markelle Fultz is the biggest bust in sports history. He was coming out of Washington, projected to be the next NBA franchise point guard for the Philadelphia 76ers. They drafted him first overall, expecting him to develop and become an all-star. He got hurt in an off-season motorcycle accident that ended up giving him nerve damage in his shoulder, in his shooting arm, too. And that completely dismantled his growth and development with the Sixers and struggled to even stay on the court for the next 4 years before they shipped him off. And out of 656 games since 2017, he's only played in 250 of them, despite being on a roster every single year.
Man, and that really kind of sucks for the Philadelphia 76ers there because they've had some injury issues with players, but Markelle Fultz's injury, like you said, it came off the court, so that's really a disappointment for that franchise. Do we have any rebuttals for Markelle Fultz being the greatest draft bust of all time?
I mean, I think it really just does come back down to injuries. I mean, of course, it's tough, but sometimes you just get an injury early on in the season, and there's really not much way to get back from that. And so that's just a big thing to keep in mind is maybe it's not really his fault. It's just injuries come and go.
I just think it was irresponsibility on his part, especially being the #1 overall pick and getting that value put on you and responsibility put on you at such a young age. He was irresponsible and crashed a motorcycle, which led to the nerve damage in his shoulder. So that's why I think he's the biggest bust, because it was just irresponsible choices that led to his demise.
All right, definitely some good points there. Jake, what do you think? Who is the greatest draft bust of all time?
I also kind of went out of the box here. I went with left-handed pitcher Jay Groom, former number one prospect in the Red Sox system, the #1 pitching prospect heading into the 2016 draft, the #2 left-handed pitching prospect in 2017. He was taken 12th overall by the Red Sox, giving a $3.65 million signing bonus, which was one of the bigger signing bonuses of that draft class, especially within that first round. You didn't see many guys outside the top 5 get multiple millions of dollars. The kid also has pitched in over 500 career innings in the minor leagues since 2016, still has not made his major league debut yet. He's also had a .565 ERA in minor league baseball in his career, which is really something that's not something you really want to see out of a former top prospect, a former top pick, a guy that was supposed to be projected to go #1 in that 2016 draft.
Absolutely. I mean, not even getting to have him in the majors yet after this point in his career, and it looks like he might not ever even get there. Definitely a disappointment for picking him so high. Do we have any rebuttals to Jake's pick here?
Yeah, I would say that Mark Appel would probably be a bigger bust than Jay Groom. Mark Appel was the first overall pick in back-to-back drafts after not signing the first year with the Astros. He did not reach the majors until he was a reliever after retiring from baseball and coming back. And he pitched maybe 5 games in the big leagues and then retired again. I think he should be considered a bigger bust than Jay Groom.
I can't give I can't give Mark Appel that argument because he didn't want to play. He was drafted twice, #1 overall, twice. And he didn't want to play for either team. He didn't want to play baseball. He would rather retire than play for the two teams that drafted him.
He went back to Stanford for his degree and then pitched for another 2 years before retiring.
Definitely an argument there, Mason, for another greater draft bust in the sport of baseball. So I'm definitely going to have to give you a point for that rebuttal. But with that debate out of the way, let's move on to the next one. We've talked about some big letdowns in the world of sports, but now we're going to talk about who we think are going to be winners. Who do y'all think is going to rise to the occasion in this year's Super Bowl? What's your prediction for the two teams playing and who's going to win? Nolan, let's send it over to you first.
Yeah, I think right now you look in the NFC, and there's a couple teams that really stand out. To me, they're both in the NFC West. The Rams and the Seahawks have been really, really good. I think the Seahawks ultimately are going to end up winning that division, and then I think they kind of have a little cake run to the Super Bowl. I've got them going to the Super Bowl, and then the AFC, they're not even in the playoff picture right now, but I think the Chiefs are going to find a way to get there. Every time that they crawl themselves back into the playoffs, they end up going right to the Super Bowl. You can't beat them and the refs in the playoffs. It's very difficult to do. So I think the Chiefs versus Seahawks will be a Super Bowl, and I've got the Chiefs winning 24-21.
All right. Definitely not a name you hear often in Super Bowl predictions is the Seahawks, but Chiefs, you do hear them often, and they always do find a way to make their way into the playoffs, and they always seem to have the momentum. Do you have any rebuttals on either of those picks or the winner?
I do. I just don't think the Seahawks defense is good enough. Their linebacking core is pretty weak overall, and they just don't really cover that well despite having Devon Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen. They've been obviously very good on offense with Sam Darnold and obviously the addition of Cooper Kupp. But with that defense, I don't think they go far in the playoffs because defense wins championships.
They've actually had one of the best run defenses they've had since the Legion of Boom. And in the pass coverage, Devin Witherspoon's been out for like half of the year, so they haven't even had a full, healthy secondary.
I think the run defense can go solely to that D-line play. The D-line has been phenomenal for them. I think the outside linebackers have obviously been good, getting to the quarterback and getting pressure. But that linebacking core, obviously in open field making tackles, I don't think they're going to be ready for the playoffs.
You just said their defense hasn't been good, but you just said their D-line was good and their outside linebackers haven't been good. Or you said their linebackers haven't been good, and then you just said their outside linebackers haven't been good. So which one is it? Are they good or bad?
Well, it's the edge play.
The edge play? They're doing fine. And then middle linebacker, you have Ernest Jones, one of the better players at that middle linebacker spot, also a former Ram as well.
I just don't think they're going to be ready for the playoffs, especially with Devon Witherspoon being injured and Ernest Jones sort of not being that available. I also don't think he's going to be able to fill that spot in the major defense.
Hey, but he's been filling it for like multiple years. He was the Rams' best linebacker. He went to the Titans, was the Titans' best linebacker. Got traded to the Seahawks. He's been the Seahawks' best linebacker. So what role does he have to fill? Be an MVP? He's a middle linebacker.
All right. I like this debate, but we're going to have to keep it rolling. Let's go over to Rin. Rin, who do you think is going to be in the Super Bowl? Who do you think is going to win?
I got to say, I'm disagreeing with both of those teams, and I think we're going to see a rematch of Super Bowl 52. I feel like we could have a chance of seeing the Patriots back in the Super Bowl alongside the Eagles. I know the Patriots are kind of looking iffy this season, but right now they're in the lead in scores. And so I feel like there's a very good chance that we see them alongside the Eagles, who are also tied for the league over in the NFC, and just coming to the very end of it, I think that they can both make it.
All right. Any rebuttals to those teams?
Yeah, and you look at the Patriots right now, easy schedule. They're playing teams that probably wouldn't even play in the UFL right now. They beat the Jets last night by 2 touchdowns, but the Jets were kind of hanging in there, and the Patriots showed that they struggle kind of near the red zone. They had to put up some field goals. They missed out on 2 touchdowns. I think that the Patriots don't have those go-getters for me. They have Diggs at the receiver. They have Kayshon Boutte, a good deep threat, but I don't think they have enough what it takes to beat the Bills again, to beat the Chiefs when it comes down to that. Even I think a team like the Broncos, I think their secondary would be able to contain Drake May, who might be an MVP, but I don't think he'll win it.
I just cry me a river with the easy schedule nonsense. You play who you play, you win the games you win. They come in, Drake May hasn't had to play like an MVP caliber player all year. Travion Henderson is second in rookie touchdown scores. He's played 3 games.
Travion has looked very impressive.
They haven't had a running back run for over 60 yards all season. They've played 9 games.
Because he fumbles
They've
it.
beaten all of the teams that they need to beat. They've beaten top defenses like the Browns, the Bills, the Saints.
Okay, they beat the
Those were
Browns.
top
Miles
defense
Garrett
at
had
the time.
5 sacks. We talk about the schedule. It's an easy schedule. When you get to the playoffs, you don't play those teams.
You beat the
play
Bills at
Chiefs.
home. You beat the Bills in Buffalo.
Oh, okay.
They've never
Early in
been
the
able to
season.
do
That's a
that.
good win. That's your one. Who else have you played? Who else?
How can you say that it's been an easy schedule when the team has had the best defense in football and they have had running all over the place? Matt Collins has led the team in receiving yards in 5 out of the 7 games they've won in the last 7. Matt Collins.
Good for him. And he's being utilized. He wasn't utilized on the other teams. He's being utilized. You have no wide receivers. That's why he's leading the team. Matt Collins. You have no other wide receivers.
Number 2 receiver in Vegas. Number 2 receiver at times in Buffalo.
No, never. At
Yes,
times.
he was.
He had Diggs, Gabriel
All right.
Davis. Gabriel Davis was the second best receiver.
All right,
Get out of here.
we're going to have to keep it moving again. I like that we're getting very, very heated about these takes. Mason, do you got a big take for us? Who's winning the Super Bowl?
Well, my Super Bowl winner is actually going to be the Packers. I actually think that Jordan Love is going to step up and become a top 5 quarterback in the NFL and lead the Packers throughout these playoffs and cement himself as a top 5 quarterback. The defense for the Packers is obviously led by Micah Parsons, and I think that they have the defense to get there. Obviously, on the AFC side, I have the Chiefs, who aren't in the playoff picture, like Nolan said, but I think their offensive weapons are getting healthy with Rashee Rice coming off suspension, and I think that their defense would always settle down and succeed in the playoffs.
All right, do we have any rebuttals to those 2 takes?
I just don't think the Packers have what it takes to beat, teams like the Rams, Seahawks, or even the Lions that kind of in the division, or the Eagles for that fact. I just don't think, the Packers have kind of that juice, especially with their record. They wouldn't go into the playoffs as, the home team. So I just feel like it's too tough for Jordan Love. I don't think he's that guy.
I just think that realistically, the Packers have not gotten any real experience in the playoffs. I just think that Jordan Love is really going to become a dynamic player for them and lead them and their receiving core throughout their playoffs.
But you said that they haven't had any playoff experience, and you have them going to the Super Bowl. You know how difficult it is for, teams and coaching staff that don't really have that, playoff experience to go right into the Super Bowl?
Well, I would give an example. The 2020 Bengals didn't have any experience with a second-year quarterback in Joe Burrow and a first-year receiver in Jamar Chase. They went to the Super Bowl and beat the Chiefs in their home. So I would say that the playoffs can bring anything, and I think that the Packers can become a dynamic offense throughout the later half of the season and go further into the playoffs than you think.
The Packers don't touch that Bengals team.
I also want to point out the fact that, Nolan, your prediction had Sam Darnold in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Sam Darnold has had 1 relevant season in his career, and it was last year.
2.
Talk about not having playoff experience. You're taking your own point, and you're trying to argue Mason's point when your point is the same thing.
How about who's wide receiver for the Seahawks right now? Cooper Kupp, Super Bowl MVP. Give me somebody.
Who else?
Give me
Jackson
somebody
Smith and
on the
Jigba is
Packers.
the leading receiver.
Who else has had playoff experience in that team?
Ernest Jones won a Super Bowl with the Rams. Go ahead, go to the Packers and see who's got any Super Bowl experience. Nope, not Micah Parsons. Who? Name me 3 people.
What players had Super Bowl experience on the
I just told you, Ernest
Bengals?
Jones
On the Bengals.
On the Bengals?
In 2020.
That team doesn't touch the Packers though. This Packers.
It's the same logic, though.
It's not the same logic.
We'll have to see come playoffs. We're going to have to move on to Jake. Jake, what is your take for Super Bowl prediction?
I got the Patriots in it. I got the Lions in it. I think the Lions are the best team in the NFC. I think you can't really the 2 teams in the NFC West, the Rams, the Seahawks, both good teams. Packers are a good team. Eagles are a good team. All 4 of those teams, very good teams. I think the Lions have the motivation. Aiden Hutchinson is back, but I think they're the best team in the NFC. I don't think it's as much as a cakewalk as Nolan's making it out to be, but I do have the Patriots in the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl. You've seen the last few weeks, Drake May hasn't looked like the MVP candidate he did early in the season. He's been able to prove that he can play as a human being, not as a robot and the clone of Tom Brady like some people are saying. Kayshon Boutte's been out for the last 3 weeks. Stephon Diggs has barely been used in the whole lead up until this last couple weeks. Travion Henderson jumped off the couch and started scoring touchdowns, pretending he's back at Ohio State. And the defense has been really good. They're the #1 rush defense in football, and all of those teams in the NFC that everybody's been mentioning getting into the Super Bowl, they have really good running backs. They put Bijan Robinson on a game where he had less than 50 rushing yards. Bijan Robinson was a top 10 pick in the draft, one of the best running backs in all of football. And this run defense has been phenomenal all year. None of these running backs in the NFC are going to be able to touch them. They've beaten the Bills. They've beaten the Bills in Buffalo, which is a huge win. Yeah, they just beat the Jets. You play who you play. Who cares? It's a primetime game. They beat the Jets. Woohoo! Cry me a river. But this team has proven under Mike Vrabel that this team has the options to go deep, and they're well-rounded coming into a playoff push.
All right, last chance for a rebuttal before our final round. Your last chance to get some points. Make it into that final round. Anybody have anything to say about that take?
I kind of just agree with the fact that they've already beaten the Buffalo Bills. I mean, one of the big things with the Patriots is that the Buffalo Bills are their next best team in AFC East, and so they're already 3 games ahead. So I really feel like there's not much of a chance that they're gonna lose to them. They have a huge amount of momentum here. They've won their last 8 games, so I feel like they're just going to be able to keep that going. I don't think that there's much of a chance for them to at least not make playoffs, but definitely I think they can get to the Super Bowl and can win it.
Who was the other team you picked, Jake?
Lions.
Yeah, I didn't even hear you talk about them one time. You just sat there and talked about the Patriots and how easy it is. Blah, 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 blah.
I talked about Aiden Hutchinson for 3 minutes.
Yeah, one time that he was healthy. What else about the Lions team?
Amon-Ra St. Brown is still one of the best receivers in football. Jahmyr Gibbs is still one of the best running backs in football. Jared Goff is arguably the best quarterback in the NFC.
I didn't know this was a Patriots podcast at first.
I'm not saying it's a Patriots podcast.
It sounded like it.
I talked about the Lions first.
Talked about, Aiden Hutchinson's healthy, then you went right to the Patriots and their schedule.
Jake, do you trust the Lions secondary in the playoffs with
Yes.
Meek Robinson?
100%.
100%. Mason, what do you got to say about that? It seems like you're
if
not
I'm not confident in my own pick, I shouldn't be on this show.
With a Meek Robinson being their number 1 or 2 corner, I just think that any number 1 or 2 corners mossing him, going off for like 300 receiving yards. I don't think there's any way he covers anything in the playoffs. He's
I'm not
need
saying
that
he has to cover anybody. Win in a shootout. The offense is good enough to win in a shootout.
That's a good point,
They've
Jake.
done it all
They do
year.
have a great offense there in Detroit. All right. Well, it looks like at the end of round number 2, our 2 leading scorers are Nolan and Jake, so they will be joining us in our final round. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back when we're going to be talking about what to do about the illegal sports betting scandals that have been plaguing sports.
Right, mi cariño. So like I said, everything I learned about cooking, I learned from Grandma's empanadas. Shall we go again?
Yep.
Mix beef with the onions with the peppers with the paprika the garlic with the oregano with the cumin. Got it?
Got it.
Throw in the olives, stir, season, stir again, pour out the flour, roll out the dough, make a circle, drop in a fistful of filling, fold over, press down, and ta-da!
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
So who's gonna do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice. And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
We couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your
Cinderella found the pet that fits her perfectly. Tiana gave her pet the royal treatment. Belle found beauty when no one else did. And you can too. Share your heart. Share your love. Bring home your forever friend. Make a shelter pet part of your world. Happily Ever After begins at theshelterpetproject.org.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's not something you buy.
Or something you take.
In fact, there's only one way to get it.
It has to be given to you, freely.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape. Consent
If you don't get it, you don't get it.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Hello and welcome back to the Shot Clock. I'm joined by our two final guests, Nolan and Jake here. We've got our final question, illegal sports gambling. We're seeing so many scandals come up in the last couple days and weeks. So many people have been under investigation and even arrested now. Terry Rozier, Chauncey Billups. We've seen Emmanuel Clase and many other baseball players over the year get arrested. What do you two think is the solution, and is there even one? Let's start with you, Nolan.
No, I think there's no solution in this at all. You know, you see it everywhere. It's advertised by ESPN, advertised by sports teams. If it's advertised, it's not going to go anywhere. They're making money from it. Vegas is making money. Everybody's making money. You know, I feel like it's kind of some big scheme. Everybody's going to get suspended for it. You look at some of these guys who, you know, NFL players, basketball players, whatever, they don't really touch money when they're younger. They come up in the NBA, oh, they have money. They want to spread that wealth. Instead of going there and giving up their paycheck, they're going to tell, hey, homie, bet on me for, you know, under rebounds, and they're not going to get rebounds. It's just, you can tell that there's stuff going on. Sports betting's not going to go anywhere. Gambling's not going anywhere. There's teams in Vegas. It's if anything, it's going to keep getting worse and worse, especially for these college kids that are trying to come up in it.
All right, Jake, do you have anything to say about Nolan's take before you go?
I mean, pigs are flying. I agree with Nolan for once in this afternoon. I don't think there's a solution. I mean, we're seeing it more and more and more throughout the year. FBI's starting to get involved. You mentioned, Calvin, beforehand, Terry Rozier, Chauncey Billups, Emmanuel Clase, Luis Ortiz is also in that. The guy I mentioned earlier, Jay Groom, was just suspended for a year because of gambling. But I agree. There's nothing you can do about it because it's happening more and more and more. Like today, there was an article that came out on ESPN. 14 college players in New Jersey were getting suspended because of all this gambling stuff. You see guys like Emmanuel Clase. Clase 2024 was one of the best relievers in the entire history of the game, and the guy was cheating because he's still one of the best pitchers in baseball. If he doesn't cheat, how does his season turn around? How does Luis Ortiz's season turn around this year when he doesn't throw a ball 12 feet in front of the mound and purposely for a ball? You see Chauncey Billups got suspended. You saw Terry Rozier get suspended. I don't think there's a solution. I agree with Nolan. Teams are in Vegas now. You're seeing lots of teams move to Vegas. The Athletics moving from Oakland to Vegas. The Raiders moving from Oakland to Las Vegas. You're seeing all these teams move into Vegas. The Golden Knights now have a team in hockey over there. But you see, I don't think there's anything. I agree with Nolan.
All right, you two are in agreement, but that begs the question, do you think that this is really affecting the way that sports games play out? Do you think that this is really affecting the way that we watch sports? Nolan, what are your thoughts?
Well, 1,000%. You go on any sports betting site and you can kind of see like the over-under, and they're almost perfect, you know, for like 90% of the games. There's definitely something going on somehow, some way. I don't think, however, the players, you know, I still think that they go out there, they still battle, they still play as hard as they can. You know, maybe it's through the referees, maybe it's through commissioners of leagues, but there's definitely some sorts of fixed gambling going on in all sorts of sports.
Yeah, again, I agree with Nolan. I think this is such a hot-button topic that you can't really pinpoint something that's going on with this, but I agree with the fact that everybody's doing it nowadays. You're seeing people walking down the road here on campus, talking with their buddies about what parlay they're going to hit tonight. What parlay this? What parlay that? What are the odds on this? Even when you're checking games, like earlier, I checked the Georgetown-Clemson game. I wanted to see who was the favorite. What was the money line on it? What was my team, Georgetown, going to beat Clemson? I know both teams are 3-0, but I don't bet, but I still look at those lines all the time.
All right, well, you two might have agreed, but I thought, Jake, you had a little bit of a better argument to your point that, no, there really isn't much that we can do about sports gambling. So our winner tonight is Jake Ouellette. Thank you two for both joining us. That's wraps for this week of Shot Clock. Big thanks to my guests for the lively debate, and thanks for everyone watching at home. We'll be back next time with more hot takes and sports debate. Thank you.